So today I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about the return of the universal soldier. You know, this quote I've read for many years. For me it resonates very deeply. Our business and the world that we work in is merely a civilized form of warfare against the competition, in which most battles are won with words, ideas, and disciplined thinking. And I particularly like the disciplined thinking in marketing. The question today is why? Why do we choose to go into this profession? What is the role and what is the why? I work for Alexander Forbes, and one thing that we do with all of our staff is we tell them why we do what we do. So every single morning when they get to work, they see a screen that looks like that, and it's their why. And it's not only just well-written scripted words about our higher purpose and what does our brand mean and serve, how do we keep things simple and experts and relationships and trust and all those kind of things. We actually break it right down to each individual so that they know what their purpose is. It's a bit like a bricklayer. If you say to a bricklayer, what do? A bricklayer that doesn't know his why will go, I lay bricks. But one that does will say, I build homes. And that's a very different thing. So when it comes to your brand and the role of the marketer, I believe in three things. And I simplify things, I simplify them again, and then I simplify them again so that anybody can understand. But there's three levels. There's branding, there's bonding, and there's buying. And you have to work on those three levels all the time. The hardest one is the brand, to position that correctly, because it's the bedrock of your business. Second of all is, what does winning mean? So winning means different things for different people. Okay, for the bricklayer it might mean laying 100 bricks a day, that's winning, and if he's done 90 that's not winning, and if he's done 110 that's more than winning. But we break that down for each and every person so that they understand their why and their purpose. And it's very, very important to know what your brand's purpose is. You know, if you say to an ad agency, if you explain deeply to your ad agency what you do, they will give you a reasonable ad. If you explain to them how you do it, that's where your unique selling points come in and your differentiators come in, and they'll give you a good ad. But if you tell them why you do what you do, they can start a revolution for you. And that's a key there. So you need to know that and your salient truths. And the salient truths about your brand will always come through. And if you have a passion for that, you'll never work a day in your life if you love what you do. So I've just drawn a picture here, a very simple picture of where the businesses work together. Now the brand is at the base, and that's another lecture for another day, just talking about positioning. It's a whole science on its own. But very, very simplistically, marketers focus on markets. Funny that, marketers, markets, okay? And they focus on their products and their services. You know, a friend of mine the other day was telling me that she was looking for a job. And she kept on seeing, I want an FMCG expert, I want a fast-moving consumer good expert. And she phoned me and she says, why do they keep on asking for an FMCG expert? I said, the reason is because those marketers are absolutely zoned in to one product and that consumer with that product. They are totally focused on it in the grocery aisles because it's fast-moving and it's competitive. They're experts at focusing on those two things. So if you consider that these are the two pillars on the side, you as the marketer, your fundamental role is to have the deepest understanding of your markets and your products and services. In the business, you need to be the go-to guy. You need to be the go-to guy for that. Now in the middle here, can you see this tightrope that I've drawn? That's the hard part, the poor agency that has to pull it together, that has to connect that market and that product for you. Sales does it, and the agencies do it for you. I'm going to go back to 1993. I know a lot of you were very small in 1993. I was in Standard 9 in 1993. But in 1993, these were the canvases that you could paint your brand on. So we had broadcast and print, outdoor, direct PR in-store. So this is my little marketing suitcase. So this is the places that we could put our brand on. There was no digital. There wasn't even cell phones. Cell phones came in 1994. The internet had started, because that's 25 years old this year. And I remember when I was at UJ in 1996, an American guy came and he spoke about the internet and he told us all of this is going to go in like 2 or 3 years' time, and it's all going to be the internet. It's still here. It's still here 20 years later. So this is what we dealt with all those years ago. Look what happened now. Boom, this massive explosion. I counted the other day, I think there's 120 of platforms that I know that you can put your brand on. 120. 93 there was 27, now there's 120. So what has happened is that the business has opened up, and I think that we have reached the widest point in this. So what has happened on the agency side of the table and the marketing side of the table is people have started to specialize. So you get specialist agencies for social, for direct, for digital, for PR, for above the line, below the line, and equally on the corporate side, the marketing department has fractured, and there's different areas running different things, dealing with different agencies. And I think we've lost sight of the whole. We've lost sight of the whole. So I remember 16 years ago when I started, sales and marketing were like husband and wife in the business. The two moved together. They've drifted apart. Now marketing's trying to deal with this plethora of stuff. And it's a bit like the Pied Piper, where we're following the music or the noise, but we've forgotten a little bit about the consumer. And we've forgotten a little bit about that depth of understanding of the product and the competitive environment. So I wanted to give you a little bit of research, because you've seen now that's this massive explosion in this suitcase that we're dealing with, and let's face it, it's not easy. It's not easy to know everything about everything. Nobody knows everything about everything. You need to know something about everything, but know everything about something. Okay, your markets and your products are your something. So here's some facts from very respectable research houses that you'll see. Look, they say traditional marketing is now only trusted by 15% of buyers. Only 15% of buyers. So you marketers are now digesting a whole lot of research information. 78% of consumers trust recommendations from their social graph only. 90% of purchases are subject to social influence. 90% of all consumers trust recommendations from people they know. I thought the last one was a bit like saying 90% of people think the sky's blue, but anyway, that's just my little point of view. Yeah, we've got people who engage with brands via social media. I've got a deeper emotional commitment to these brands. They also apparently spend 20 to 40% more than other customers. Trust in television has dropped by 24%. Magazine sales have plummeted. Newspapers have plummeted. On the other hand, remember that Douglas Green advert? This way, Douglas Green. So I've given you credible research, on the digital side. Consumers believe traditional media trumps digital. Now if you look here, I don't know if you can see that, I've broken this up into different parts of the world. So I've got the global, but if you look at Africa, where we are, by a massive margin, 46% of the consumers watch TV. The second one is coupon offers. Now coupon offers are catalogs in newspapers. Catalogs and offers in that retailers do. That's the second point for the consumer to look at. And then way down is the mobile apps and the online videos. Only 2% on the mobile apps and 4%. The scary thing here for me is the view of the marketer is very different from the view of the consumer. So the consumer, 46%, that's nearly half, says the TV is king, but only 35% of the marketer says that. And that's a concern. That's indicative of the fact that we've moved away from talking face to face to the consumer. Online's not effective. Web advertising doesn't work. Again, I've got the world here where people say it's not working. The marketer and the consumer are more closely aligned on this one. Web banner advertising doesn't work. Are you confused yet? I was. Stop. It's time to stop. It's time for us to stop worrying and focusing on all that suitcase that's exploding with different types of things, and worrying about reading reams and reams of research. You can really read research that proves almost anything, really, as long as a sample of the audience is like-minded as you are. Am I right? So the thing is, it's time to now go back to basics. It's time for us to go back to being the universal soldier. Remember in the old days we used to have brand managers, sales and marketing managers. It still happens, still there, but we're seeing less and less of that as this fragmentation has taken place, as the specialization has taken place, and the channels have started to compete with one another, trying to prove that theirs is definitely the biggest connector with the consumer. It's time to keep the main thing, to pull the strings back together to form one instrument, making a consistent melody, to focus on the brand as a whole. So marketers, it's time for us to focus on product and service and the marketing. Be the go-to guy, the experts on that sense. You know, I was at a function late last year, and I was speaking to a lady who's the chief strategy officer of a massive company, easily the top 10 in media buying in the country. And she made a remark to me, and they have lots of businesses, easily the top 10 on the JSE. And she said to me, Katherine, you know, all of our marketing people, all they do is they just administrate the agencies. They just administrate the paper with the agency. We've outsourced everything. Our strategy, the research, creativity, and the delivery. We're just basically administrating the agencies. And that really hit me, and I thought, you know, our industry needs to make sure that we're controlling the whole, that we're seeing the whole brand. Otherwise that fragmentation takes part, and we lose the truth of the brand like that. You know, for me, a big idea is not enough. I'm looking for a whole idea that can assist. Let's go back to this. Can you see where the focus needs to be? So our focus must not be on the platforms to reach the consumer. I'll leave that to an expert media agency or an expert integrated agency to tell me, Katherine, you know your market so well that these are where they are. This is what they're reading, this is what they're watching, this is where they are online. These are the things that you can afford in your budget, best place to put your brand on. That's the trust that I'm looking for. Whoops. So therefore, more importantly now than ever before, having the right agency to connect these two is one of the biggest competitive advantages your brand can have. It really is one of the biggest competitive advantages. So the universal soldier needs a silver bullet. And the silver bullet is the agency. And that partnership is very different from the other partnerships that the business has. Very different. It doesn't belong near procurement, quite frankly. It doesn't. Because that relationship between you and that agency is so critical. That is a tightrope. You will fail if you don't get the right agency. Okay? So it's very, very important to get that correct partnership. So how do you find the silver bullet? How do you find them? The first thing that you do is you look for adverts that you covet. Look for adverts that you really, really admire and find out who made them. That's what I do. So I will research deeply two agencies on ads that I covet, and I will find out who made those ads. That's just so. Google's wonderful. You can go and, I mean, Christine got up earlier and she read a whole list of Alistair's achievements that she picked up from the Google. I'm glad she didn't read all of his awards, otherwise we'd still be sitting here. So the second thing is to research the agency, especially the founders, the creative director or the chief creative officer and the MD, and then meet them. And the chemistry is critical because you're going to go on a path together on that tightrope, hopefully for many years to come. So you have to have shared beliefs. You have to have shared beliefs. That brand and the way your brand, you know, the higher purpose of my brand, and I would go into great depth with that agency needs to resonate with that. I need to understand that they believe in it, that they believe in what we believe. Avoid a committee. Avoid a committee. Creativity is a subjective science. You know, if I say to all of you today, what's your favorite food? All of you will have all of you will have a different answer. We'll all have a different answer because we all like different things. We all like different things. So avoid a committee. Just trust yourself and your CEO and that partner. Try and get that right. Fees. The F word, fees. Be upfront with what you can afford so that agency can position what you can afford correctly so that it's a fair deal, okay? I like to go on a long-term relationship with an ad agency. Long-term. Why? Because I don't want a competitor seducing them away from me. So I like to have a long-term relationship with them with a long-term contract, okay? And I like the bonus strategy for fees as well. When they come to pitch, it's important that they come knowing a bit about your business. You can see very quickly, if people have taken the time to actually sit down and research you as much as you've sat down to research them. So during that pitching process, I have a recipe and it's got 4 parts: strategy, creativity, delivery, and measurability. Now the strategy would normally come from me. So I start with the strategy. But what I like the agency to do is disrupt my strategy. Because let's face it, when you're a marketer and you're focused on your brand, it's like your child. Everybody thinks their child is the prettiest and the cleverest. Mine really are. But an agency has got lots of brands to look at. So they stand back and they see a bigger world than what you do. So I like them to come and disrupt my strategy, to challenge my strategy. And I start with the first draft of it, and I like them to come and pick holes in the strategy. I say to them, you pick holes in my strategy, and I'll attempt to pick holes in your creativity. But we shouldn't really, because we've done the strategy together. The second one is the creative. And that one is the subjective one. That one you can't do by committee. That's when you've got to step on the tightrope. Marketer, you've got to step on the tightrope and trust that agency, that they've understood your what, your how, and your why. And then delivery. Delivery is very important. Unfortunately, I've had tension points with the agency because of delivery. When production's gone wrong, things are late, I'll have it to you by 5 o'clock, 1 minute past 5, I'm on the phone, where's it? You know? Because they're relying on another value chain as well. But that is often a tension point. But if they're good at creativity and delivery, then you've hit the mark. And then the measurability at the end of the day. What does winning mean? What does winning mean? It's not only the ROI. It's not only the increase in sales. It's the increase in brand recognition. It's the increase in the image of your brand. Okay? And all that going forward. And then post the pitch, starting new with a new agency, I always recommend that you spend lots and lots and lots of face time with them. If you as a marketer are leading a team, you want to get your team to bond well with their team. It's quite a tragedy when you're getting on well at one level and then other people are battling on other levels. So it's important to spend lots and lots of face time. And I include annual metrics, bonuses, and balanced scorecards for your agency. And by the way, always pay for a pitch. Always pay for a pitch. You know, when a lawyer comes to deal with your company, or an accountant, or somebody comes to audit your firm, or bankers come and deal with you, you wouldn't dream of saying, oh, can't really afford this 50 grand, can you knock it down to 35? But we've done that with agencies. It's not right, it's wrong. So always be upfront and clear. So very simplistically, 100% creativity, 100% delivery, and that's what we're doing. And in conclusion, I'd like to just read to you my paradoxical commandments of marketing leadership. The reality, folks, is marketing is a subjective science that's informed by disciplined thinking and deep insights into your products and your markets. Often other business leaders at the table believe that they are world experts at your job. Here are the paradoxical commandments of marketing leadership. People are illogical, unreasonable, and critics of other people's creative work. Trust, be brave, and back the brilliance of your creative people anyway. 2, if you do good, people will accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Do good anyway. If you are successful, you will win false friends and true enemies. Succeed anyway. The good work you execute today will perhaps be forgotten tomorrow. Do good anyway. Honesty and frankness make you feel vulnerable. Be honest and frank anyway. The biggest individual with the biggest ideas can be shot down by the smallest individual with the smallest mind. Think big anyway. People favor underdogs but follow hot dogs. Fight for the few underdogs anyway. What you spend years in building brands may be destroyed overnight. Build anyway. People really need help but may attack you if you help them. Help them anyway. People don't remember what you say, but they always remember how you made them feel. So go for it. Thank you.
The University of Johannesburg. Rethink, reinvent.